Okay, good morning and welcome to this regular meeting of the Pipestone County Commissioners. It is 9 o'clock, December 11th. If you'd all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Serving today, we've got County Commissioner Luke Johnson, County Commissioner Chris Hollingsworth, myself, Dan Wildermuth, County Commissioner Bruce Koyman, and County Commissioner Les Nath, our County Administrator Steve Ewing, and our County HR Coordinator Kathy Festny. These meetings are recorded and broadcast on our website. And also, you've all received a copy of the agenda. The agenda was also posted, and that also is posted on our county website as well. Are there any additions or corrections to the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, I would like to add under other business, law enforcement laptops. Bill Folger will be coming in to present that. And we'll catch that with the law enforcement contracts.
Okay.
And I'll be presenting that for approval, the law enforcement contracts. Sheriff Freeman is out today.
Okay. Very good.
Mr. Chair, with that addition, I would move to approve the agenda.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda as amended. Any further amendments or questions or discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
And opposed, the same. Thank you. First item then we've got on there is our consent agenda. The consent agenda, you received a copy of that as well too for your review. The first item on that is the approval of the minutes of the November 27th meeting. Also, we've got the auditor warrants then from November 29th and also December 7th. The commissioner warrants and meal reimbursements. Hospital warrants of $322,666.17. And also the treasurer's report from November of 2018. Are there any other items that we need to add to that consent agenda? I believe that is all of it. Okay.
Move for approval.
It's moved to approve the consent agenda and seconded. Any further questions or discussions? Okay, all in favor? Aye. And opposed, the same. Passes. Thank you. Nick Bergman, our county engineer, has got a report for us and also some action items on road bridge updates. Good morning, Nick.
Morning. First up for me today is project updates. I don't have any updates for projects under contract. Everything's froze up, so we're kind of done for the year on construction. But I do have an update on the last project on that last page. It's our Indian Lakes Trail and Road construction project.
Nick, Mr. Chairman, all your road and bridge items are at the back of your packet.
Okay.
They were the last thing I got on Friday to get in there, so they're at the bottom.
There we go.
Should be about 5 pages.
I knew it was in there, I just didn't have it on top.
Excuse me, go ahead.
No,
Sorry.
that's fine. Just wanted to give everybody a minute to grab it. So, we met with U.S. Fish and Wildlife last week. There's a question on ownership out there, who owns what. Looks like there was an error on a deed back in the 1800s that have caused some issues, so we're working at getting that straightened out, and then I think we're close to the end on that. They sent a surveyor down to set some pins, find some pins, all that stuff. So after they next week, I think they'll finalize that, and then we'll kind of be able to go forward with our design for our alignment. So that's moving along. Next item I have is approval of some right-of-way payments. That's for our County Road 13 project. There's two to approve this month. Alan and Kelly Jones for $18,120. And the next one is Greg and Cindy Matizan for $2,610. That first one, that's a big easement. The reason that's so big is, if you're familiar with the area, that's the land around the intersection. It's about a mile south of Highway 30. And there was a fatality there a while back, and it's kind of a bad sight corner, so we want to do a little extra work in there to try to clean that up so you can see better, so hopefully that doesn't happen again. So that's why that first one was so high, because we have to slope a ways out into the field to get that done.
Do you recall roughly how many extra feet of radius that we're going to have there, or that we're taking?
Permanent right-of-way out there is 50 feet. We'll be buying to 60, but then we're gonna slope another couple hundred feet out into the field to help, because we're gonna drop the road there, because there's a hill right by the intersection, so when you're looking to the south, you can't really see because of the hill, so we're gonna drop the road. But when we do that, we need to slope out into the fields too, because otherwise, if you got a road down in a valley, it's
Fills
just
in
gonna
with
fill up
snow
with
and you
snow.
can't see. And-
Yep. Yep. So that's what's going on there. And then we'll be able to use that dirt we take out of there to help build the road, so that'll work good.
Okay,
I'd move to approve.
it's been moved to approve both payments, the 18,000 and the 2,000 both.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve these payments for right-of-way easements. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor, aye.
Aye.
And opposed, the same. Passes unanimously.
Next item I have is requesting approval for our annual crack sealant material. We got 3 bids. Conrad Materials was the lowest at a cost of $10,890. That'd be for the approximate quantity of 22,500 pounds. I say approximate quantity because it's not exact when they fill up those bricks, and we're getting about a half a truckload, so they'll weigh it. But so I'm sure that won't be the exact bill, but it'll be really close to that. So
Nick, is the quality of this material the same on all these bids? Is there specifications for that, so we know we're getting good stuff, that it isn't just any difference in what they bid you, or are they all the same, I guess?
as far as I know, that's all the same. Do you know any more about that,
It's
Doug?
gotta meet the Minnesota spec of
Okay, so
37.
there's requirements
They
here.
do meet that spec.
So you're bidding the same product, pretty much?
Yes, so it'll be the same product then. Yep.
Will this be our only purchase of the year? I see you've got quite a bit more than this budget
Yep.
for the year.
I think that'll do it.
Okay, good.
I think that'll do it, but we'll see. You never know. It might depend on the weather this spring too, so.
So I assume that you're recommending we take a little bit on this?
Yes,
Okay.
yep. That from Conrad Materials for $10,890.
Move to approve that, please.
Second. Moved and seconded to approve the bid from Conrad Materials, $10,890. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor, aye. And opposed, the same. Passes unanimously.
My next request for board action is to purchase an aggregate base stabilizer. It's called Base One, supplied by the company Team Lab. It's the same additive we added on our County Road 16 project. It gets us extra strength without adding more blacktop or gravel. And there's other products that do the same thing, but this is the cheapest and essentially the biggest bang for the buck. They did dial back the strength credit you get on it a little bit, but the product has stayed the same, so I think we're probably getting more strength than what we get credit for, so that's good too.
This is a liquid?
Yep. Yep, they'll come through and they will grind up all the blacktop on that road with some of the gravel underneath, and they'll lay it back down, and then they'll come through with that same machine and they'll mix in this liquid and they'll pack that down. And then it'll sit for a week or so and it firms up really hard, and then we'll put our new blacktop on top of it. So hopefully we can prolong the life of the surfacing a little while longer, so.
You know, not to get into chemistry of this, is this a petroleum-based product or calcium chloride, or just what is it?
Don't think I have all that stuff. If you'd like me to send it to you, I can, but,
Just trying to envision how that process works, so.
yeah.
Okay.
I can't remember.
That's fine.
He went over it with me, but I don't remember what it is. But.
Is this the only price that you're able to get on this? We don't
Yep.
have a competitive price on it? Okay.
They have the patent on it. They are the only supplier of it. They offer a discount now. If you buy so many totes, you get 5 totes, you get 1 free to the end of the year. We want to put this product in again. It worked well for us last time, so. So down at the bottom, you see I have the 3,450 gallons at $23 per gallon. It's actually going to take more gallons than that to do it, but since we would get the 2 free totes, I just took that off the total. So,
Okay.
so I could show that $23 per gallon, and that is the price that we paid 2 years ago when we bought it too. So we felt it was worth it then. The price hasn't gone up, so I think it's, based on that alone, it's safe to say it's worth it again.
And I see the funds for this, and they're coming through the state aid funds?
Yep.
Okay,
Yep, our state aid account will pay for that, so.
very good. Need to take action on this? Okay, moved and
Second.
seconded to approve the purchase of this 3,450 gallons of this additive for $69,575. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And opposed, the same. Thank you, Nick. Passes.
Last item I have is some maintenance updates. Kind of just working on our regular maintenance, here and there. A few of the high points here are we plowed and sanded 5 days in this last month. There's some concrete and a log in the county ditch by Highway 23 by the elevator there. We got that out of there. And we've been putting up some snow fences to help keep snow off the road, keep our plowing down, So I guess that's all I have. Unless anybody had any more questions for me.
Any questions for Nick at all? Okay. Other than just passing along our appreciation for the good work that the guys are doing out there keeping those icy roads.
Yeah.
It's been a challenge here, so I'm pleased it's only been 5 days we've had to be out. How much overtime? Was there quite a bit of overtime in those 5 days, or not too bad?
I would say, just try to like regular.
Okay.
Nothing out of the ordinary there. One more thing I guess I could add, I've been talking with the state and gathering information on those pedestrian crossings on our County Road 9 in Edgerton. So hopefully I'll be back with all the info at the next month's meeting. So.
Very good.
All right, if that's all I have. If nobody has any questions for me.
Very good. Thank you, Nick.
All right, thank you.
We're a little bit ahead of schedule. We've got Tyler Reich and Joyce Schmidt working on tax abatement at 9:45, but I think we'll come back to that. Do we have some personnel items that you want to take care of, or other business you want to fill in, Steve?
Sure. Kathy?
Take a look at this law enforcement one, or we want to wait for?
We can take that up right now. That's just fine. In your packet, you're going to find a single sheet. Get through here.
Single sheet, it's the stapled one.
Single sheet.
Oh, okay, yep. Yep.
So what Sheriff Freeman has put together on here is you have each of the cities listed with their population, their comparative totals from 2018 to 2019, and then you have your, at the end, the cost of it there. So Woodstock, they're at $38.20, so their cost would be $43.47 for 19, and you just take that all the way down for all the cities on there. He has all of the contracts ready to go, so what we'd be asking is authorization of the county board to approve the contracts as presented and authorize the chairman to sign the contracts.
Maybe a little more background on this then. Sheriff Reeman met with each one of these city councils, has gone through this with them, and has got their approval on these, or their consent.
Yes, all the contracts went to the councils first, they signed them and sent them back.
I would move to approve.
Okay, it's been moved and looking for a second to approve the contracts then for our various communities within the county for 2019. We've got a list of these. I believe, Kyle, you got a copy of this list of these as well too, so we don't need to read them all off. Okay. Any further discussion or questions? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. And opposed, the same. Passes unanimously.
At the end of the meeting, Mr. Chairman, I'll have you sign these contracts. That's all right? Like, we go grab that. Can we do that? The law enforcement laptops? Would you like
Yes,
to do
yep,
that?
let's do the laptops next.
Grab them quick.
Come on up, Bill.
Good morning.
Good morning. If you'd give us a little bit of background then on this, the new laptops that we've been looking at for the sheriff's office.
Okay, so back in 2014, we went to LETG, so everything is automated now, the whole CAD, CAM, RMS system, and that required all the squad vehicles to have a portable computer in them. So the deputies don't have their own portable computer desktop in the squad room. They all have just these laptops now. So they bring them in and out, and so everything is on that. So they've been running them, and they run 12-hour shifts. They've been running these tough books, and they've been chugging right along. But it's time to replace them. We've had very few issues with them. A keyboard here, and we've had to upgrade the hard drives on a couple of them a few times just to kind of keep the power users with the right stuff and the right amount of data.
So those have lasted for 4 years. That's pretty phenomenal, isn't it? For a
That's
laptop?
about right. I think that's about right, especially for ones that are moving in and out of a docking station and bounce around in the car and on for a long time too. You know, and normal consumer stuff is really only rated for 6 hours a day. So we tough books were quite a bit more expensive. They were about $20,000 more than what the Dell quote came in at. So we looked at GTAC, and we ran a demo this summer for a couple months with GTAC, and we had a few problems. Maybe we could have overcome it, but they weren't very responsive. Here we want to be a new customer to them, and they weren't very responsive back to us about what our problems were. So that kind of settled it for them. So we went to Dell, and we ran a test here for a couple months with the Dell. And it's pretty well liked. I mean, some things are a little bit better than the tough books that we have now. Well, the speed and the size of the processor and that are bigger, of course. But some of the things are nicer. The dock itself is smaller, so it gives them more room in the car and more adjustability with that. And the durability, I believe, is going to be real similar. They're both ruggedized machines. So we ran that. Dell was having a little bit of a processor issue, so we got delayed on this demo for a little bit. But I'm glad we did get it in. We were worried that we were going to go over into next year before we got anything figured out on this. So, everything I'm saying or have seen so far is that the Dell's going to be the winner in this. So
This is still in the 2018 budget?
it is. This is in my budget this year.
You're still okay with that?
Yep. Oh, yep. The general fund would get quite a boost if we didn't do this, but
When you say they're rugged, I mean, like, can they be dropped and,
they can be dropped. They're supposed to be able to survive a 15-foot fall onto concrete.
really?
You know, just crazy stuff. Why you'd throw it over your car, I don't know, but
Our wind tower technicians have the Panasonic rugged ones, and yes, they do make a difference, especially up in the towers and so forth. They're nice. Well, all those rugged styles are nice. Yeah.
Have they dropped it off the tower?
We've had one come 300 feet down, and that one didn't survive.
Yep. I'm not sure this would survive if the airbag went off either. It'd probably break it in half and throw it out the back window. But
You mentioned the docks then have to be changed. Is that something we can do ourselves, or is it going to be a cost for switching out those docks?
we can do that ourselves.
The labor.
Yep.
Okay, good. Any other hardware differences? I suppose everything now just has USB ports on it, and
The big difference is fingerprint readers aren't what you think they are. They only work for Windows Hello. So they don't work like we'd like them to work, you know, so we will have a little additional cost of fingerprint.
And is
USB
this as far as password fingerprint, or this is for fingerprinting?
It's a
public?
biometric fingerprint for the
For gathering information?
e-charging, for the e-charging program for courts. There is a way to get in with the password, but that's not going to be, that's just not going to work for them to type in the crazy password and yet another password they'd have to remember, where the biometric scan is the way to go with this.
Do you anticipate that being an expensive problem to fix, or?
No, a couple $100, insignificant in the big cost of things. These have built-in GPS too, and that's been kind of an issue where the GPS dongles that we have been using, we have all different models, and sometimes they work well and sometimes they don't at all. Where these will be, they can be tracked all the time. So our AVL will work with all of them.
Anybody else? Any questions at all?
I'd move to approve the Dell computers and purchase them.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve the purchase of the Dell computers. So we're looking at 14 rugged. It's called the Latitude 14. It's for $46,177.60.
Correct.
Any further discussions or questions?
Chairman, just one.
Yep.
Where's the tablet going?
Okay, so
There's one
we,
tablet on
yeah,
here, too,
and
I
we
see.
do have one tablet right now. So with either the snowmobile or the four-wheeler, or if someone's walking around, they have a tablet that they can take with them wherever they go, because they can't write a ticket without the computer.
Right. Okay,
Perfect, thank you.
okay. All in favor of the motion? Aye. And opposed, the same? Passes unanimously. Thank you for your work, Bill, and you worked with the sheriff's office on this as well, too, so.
Yep, thank you.
Nice one.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, it gets a little tough figuring out the times of everything
Oh,
on here,
yes.
so
No,
I apologize for that.
no apologies necessary at all, Steve.
Why don't we take a look at the 1015 items, the architectural services, the building, public services, building space, and also the LEC mortar stucco quotes we have here. That'd be okay?
Okay, absolutely. So the first one we'll look at is going to be the proposal for architectural services. Is that this estimate then? Oh, no, that's not it.
Okay, that's one should say Falls Architectural Studio on top. That's ultimately what we want to work on. So along with that, you have other supporting documentation. You have a layout of the Human Services Building, Public Services Building, and also I made just some notes on here to go along with what we're talking about.
Yep.
The building committee is in the loop on this, and we did tour, what's it been, 2 months ago now, I suppose, out there?
I suppose
With
close to
Stacy
it.
Jorgensen, probably late October, early November. And what it started out as is Stacy got a hold of Bill and wanted to know about doing some work out at the building. And it started out as kind of a, well, let's convert a space here. But then converting the space includes moving doors, changing layouts, things like that, so it became more of an issue. So the architectural service that we have here from Jeff Nelson from Falls Architecture, he is the same company that did the remodeling work that the board authorized back in 2015, when there was remodeling done out there. I, of course, wasn't here for that, but that bid at that time was approximately $50,000 worth of work on here is what I'm looking back on as the information I have to reduce some offices. So what they're looking at now, and we'll just go along with my little note sheet and then also the layout of it, is that the first thing that they're looking at doing, they need to add space for more people, primarily those that come and go, as I understand it. And other members, please chime in, please, on this. I might not have everything exactly correct in here. For the commuters, right. So you should have highlights on there. So item number 1, it says convert storage room 125. That's the room about dead center in the middle of the building, if you're looking at your yellow, your layout there. What that is now is a large storage room. That room is primarily vacant with a little bit of stuff in there because they have taken most of their files and digitally saved them. So they've gotten rid of most of the file cabinets in there. So there's a rack in there. I think it's got a little bit of stuff in there, not much at all.
Miscellaneous storage, yeah.
Yeah, just very little storage. So one issue that is in there, though, is that there is, on the north side, there's an electrical panel. So obviously, we have to have access to that. And then also, there's an entryway, a doorway into an IT area in there, too. So we would have to put up a wall around that electrical cabinet, make sure we're maintaining the proper spacing on it, and then have a doorway into that. So that's actually for Bill's IT, if I remember right, to get into that cabinet area. So we'd be working around that. So that would, what the recommendation would be is to move the south door to the new wall, add a new door with a window on the hallway, which would be, if you're looking at that, would be on the south side of the hallway there. There would be a new door coming in there, and they have to have windows into the door so you can see in there, much like the window into Kathy's office. That's why that was put in there, because Family Services used that. So a new door, and we put on there, it would be used for 2 people. And right now, what they're doing is on the far east side of the building, there's room 117. It's the very last room there. That has been, 4 staff are using that room in there now for commuter room. It's just overcrowded for that in there. Are you following me so far where I'm looking, everybody? 117 is that very far room way on the far east end. They're using that. So that would offer 2 people to be in there and a couple people in the commuters to be in the other office there is what they're looking at. The second item there is the hallway to the outside. That's at the lower, would be the southeast corner, room 147. What there is now is there is a doorway and a hallway going through the office to the outside door. And I presume that was done back when the building was built because that was an entrance and an exit for the director of the facility. So what they'd like to do that is put a wall between that so people can use that as an entrance and exit without going through someone's office. So that would include moving a wood door to the north wall, and then 2 people would then share that space as well. Okay. So item number 3 is room 119. That's just a little bit, just right across the hall from that 117 room. And that right now is one long room used for, there are some file cabinets in there, and again, most of the stuff is out of there. But there is one person, I believe there's a desk in there, isn't there right now, for one person right now?
1 or 2 desks, yeah.
And there's also, there's a copier and a printer in there as well. So what they'd like to do is put a wall halfway between there and then have an entrance on both ends and turn that into space for 2 people. So that would be adding another person in that as well. So going from 1 to 2 in that.
There are doors on both ends,
Right, and yep, there are doors on both ends. So that one just needs a wall in between. And then there would have to be some air handler changes to the ceiling and lighting, that type of thing. And then item number 4 is remodel the main lobby at the customer window where they come in there right now. If you remember going out there, there's a sliding glass window across there, and it's at a very low level. And that was determined in a active shooter drill that was not an optimal situation, where someone could, the person came in, jumped right through the entryway, and unfortunately took out the staff that was in there without even having a problem. So the idea would be to raise the counter up and change it from sliding glass to solid glass, much like was done at the court administrator's office. You need to have a window there with a slide through and all that for protection and thicker
I don't think we
glass.
can raise the counter because that's for handicap too.
Okay.
Didn't we just
Make
talk
it
about the
accessible
glass?
somehow.
Right.
'Cause I know they talked about that counter sticks out for the people with handicap
Okay.
can roll up to it.
And I think another reason we have the space need is there's, if I remember right, 3 people that are on a year plan for retirement.
Right.
And they have to bring 3 people in to train and get up to speed during this time, so they're actually temporarily bringing in 3 more people.
And I guess I did have a specific question about that. I realize we're doing the job share and so forth. So are these people then, are the position being replaced, are they sharing an office? So we're not talking about having a separate office or a replacement person, are we?
Well, you remember how the system works. You may be here today, there tomorrow.
And that's one of the questions, because when we've done tours of the facility out there before, it seems a little disconcerting to walk through and see all these dark offices.
Yeah, I know.
And then to hear that, we spent a lot of money back in 2015 to add more offices, and now 3 years later, they're coming back and say, we need more offices again. I guess I'd just like to have a little clarification as far as, are they truly utilizing these offices it'd always be nice to have your own space, but is it really necessary?
Well, they're the ones, we kind of talked about that a little bit out there. And I brought up the same question to Stacy about the darker office. Well, they could be out seeing a client when we're there, and they'll probably be back in 2 hours or something. Or they could be in court. Depends upon the situation.
But do I understand that part of this request is for when we have those 3 positions that are in the process of retiring, and they're training their new person? I think it's going to be a 1 or 2 year program. So are those 2 individuals going to be in one office, or are we going to have an office for each one of those individuals?
I'm not sure on how that's going to work. I just know when they have commuters, they're just all over the place.
I believe that room 117 in the back was originally supposed to be a type of a break room, but they're using that exclusively for the commuters. There really isn't a break area at this time.
I don't mean to draw the process out, but I guess I would like a little more information as far as the necessity of this before we jump into this. Is there any reason to have to push ahead right now on this?
No, we can get more information.
Yeah.
I mean, we should keep on it, though. We don't want to just let it go by the wayside.
Yeah, exactly. I don't mean to procrastinate on this, but I just am not 100% comfortable with this. I'd like to have some more discussions with Beth and find out the necessity of it out there, unless the building committee is satisfied.
Chairman, Beth is really not working on this. This is pretty much Stacy Jorgensen coming to us. So Beth may be aware of what's going on, but Beth is not driving this at this point, to my knowledge.
Could Stacy come and present on this?
We can have her meet.
Yeah, she could come.
So that way she should be able to answer these
Sure.
questions.
Yeah. And I don't mean to be a fly in the ointment here, but I
No,
do
that's
think
fine.
there's some areas. In the 2015, what did we spend back then? You said it was
About 50,000.
About 50,000. And
that 50,000 3 years ago, what did we get out of that?
If you go to the center of the building where it kind of looks like,
That open area where the cubicles are at, that's when they put that.
yep, we tore that out and made 4 offices.
yeah.
And I think also we had some issues with some thermostats, I think, because thermostats being in different offices for different spaces, some of that.
Well, yeah, there was
HVAC
a
wasn't-
lot of HVAC work that had to be done there.
Yeah.
Changing ducts. Each one had to have return and heat.
I think that was one of the issues with room 119, where they're turning that into 2 offices. They were being used as offices, but it didn't have the right setup either.
Right.
Well, I don't want to dominate the discussion, but do you guys want to wait, or you want to move forward?
One of the key things too was when they do interviews with people, now they have to take them down to another room. And they don't like the idea of taking people all the way through. They want to bring them in the door to a room right at the front here, so they don't have people traipsing through their.
So they're going to be using room 137, and I made a note on there that says interview. I
Is there
believe.
any reason they can't use that large conference room for their interview area? Or is that being utilized, or is that sit empty most of the time?
Oh,
On
they
the north.
use that for,
That's used quite often.
I could used a lot.
And I think that's why they have the blind on number 5 there, is because you can see right into it right now, too. And that was another
Yep.
They do some interviewing in
request
there
on
as
there,
well.
yeah.
They're using pretty much all the available space on it for that as well. But
Will the county reimbursement that we get be reflected in the additional money we're spending here if we do this? Or are we gonna get a little more rent?
We should get more rent,
I mean, is that-
because there's more office space.
Yeah.
That's how we recouped the last one.
Yeah,
Yeah, we'll have to,
If that's the case, then
we'll have to increase the lease.
yeah. And that does bring up another question I have with Southwest Health and Human Services, with the various counties that are part of that joint powers. The rents that the various counties charges, I don't see any consistency. It's just all over the board, and I've
Yeah.
never quite understood how that
I
works.
never have
You
either.
know? And I wonder, before we move forward with this, if that wouldn't be a good thing to address as well, too.
Well, that's usually the yearly contract.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's all been done, hasn't it? Last fall,
Yeah,
budget time?
but before we invest more money in offices for them, I would like to
Get
hear,
an explanation of how the various counties are charging.
yeah,
It would be interesting to hear.
I think Laverne and Redwood are the highest priced, aren't they?
yeah, and there doesn't seem to be real
Laverne's
any,
building's no better than Pipestone's.
Probably not as nice.
Yeah.
do you guys want to ask Stacy Jorgensen to come and present to us on this?
Just as well.
Sure.
Okay, it's okay.
What is her position? She's in charge here, or?
She's the supervisor here.
Okay.
Okay,
She's the one that led this to begin with, too. It contacted us here at the courthouse and contacted the committee.
okay. Because it's on the agenda, then, do you want formal action to table this, or we can do it just informally?
I accept a motion to table this item until a future date till we meet with Stacy would be appropriate.
Okay, I will so move that we table this until a future date when we get more information and meet with Stacy Jorgensen.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed, the same. Passes unanimously.
And there's no hurry with Jeff Nelson in the architecture part of this. He's
Okay.
very flexible. He took about 6 weeks to get this to me anyway, so
Good.
not a priority.
So, yeah, use your judgment if
Yep,
you want to
not a
reach out
problem.
to him and tell him that we're still doing some investigating, or if you want to let it ride with him, it's... Okay, should we, now that Tyler's here, should we go back to that, or we still need to wait for Joyce as well, too? So,
Joyce will be coming down, too.
Joyce said she's coming down.
Okay.
Depends if you guys have Valley Community.
sure.
Valley.
Wait for her here.
Morning, everybody. Morning. All right, so the thing that we are bringing to you is it's actually what it's called, Minnesota Statute 273.1235. It's the local option disaster credit. So what that is an option for counties to approve or deny an abatement request for individuals who have lost a substantial amount of their value due to a disaster. In this case, it happened to be a fire where they lost the entire house. In the application and everything, you can see it happened on April 21st, 2018. How the abatement works for the current tax year is that they get the abatement prorated for the full number of months where the house was not in use. So in this case, they would get it for 8 months. And then you also can approve one, if you guys so choose, for pay 19. And obviously that would be for the entire 12 months, because if you don't have a house in 18, you won't have it in 19 as well. So really just looking here to answer questions and looking for approval to either approval or deny the abatement request from Jason and Chanel Christensen for using the local option disaster credit. And I can just answer any questions that you guys have on that.
And we've got the two abatement forms in front of us that shows the evaluation
Correct.
of the structures and the land. What is the actual tax amount that we'd be abating?
The actual tax amount that you'd be abating, if you look at over to the right of the abatement estimate that I gave you, for P18, the prorated amount was just under $500, $490.47. For P19, which is an estimate since we do not have the certified rates yet, that is $881 for a total of $1,371. I will say that the local authorities obviously will not be collecting this money, but they do have the option to levy it in the following year to be able to make up for that loss in taxes. So,
And have Christensen's indicated their intent? Are they rebuilding, or are they going to vacate, or what is their intent?
I have not had a conversation directly with them. I believe they are selling the property. Yep. Exactly. I believe they're selling the property. coming up here. I'm not exactly sure on the closing date, but they are going to be selling it.
Looking to close on the 13th.
13th, yep.
And the amount that we're abating reflects on structures and not on land, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And there's Joyce, there she
Hi,
is.
Joyce.
Come on up.
We're a little bit ahead of time. Tyler was just kind of give us a little bit of
Yes.
background on this, so.
I know you can speak a little bit more to their plans with the property.
They're actually selling the lot, and I believe a new home is coming in,
Okay.
so.
And very likely, the new home builder will be coming looking for an abatement. I would assume they certainly should or could.
They, no, actually, on these type of abatements, only the taxpayer that had the loss can apply for it. So what this is for 19 also.
Right.
18 and 19. And so it'll show, the 19 adjustment will show as a credit on their tax statement.
And Tyler said that's $490 is the 18.
For 18, and then for 19, it was 888,
Yep.
roughly $880.
So we should be picking, if the house gets here before January 2nd, we'll be picking up some new construction for 19 assessment, not 19 taxes.
Right.
That'd be 20 taxes.
And these abatement amounts reflect on the structure only, not on the land.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Is it your recommendation that we approve this abatement?
Yes.
Yes, we both have approved it. The main reason, obviously, the hardship, and in the past, these have been approved. So it's just kind of continuing on with historical.
We can help them with their loss of their
Correct.
house. It's
Yep.
just, it's good,
Yep.
good practice, so.
Chair, I'll move to approve the tax abatement for the Christensen
Okay.
property.
Second.
Moved and seconded to approve both tax abatements for the Christensen property, the 2018 and also the payable 2019, the $490 and the estimated $881. Any further questions or discussions? All in favor, aye? Aye. And opposed, the same. Passes unanimously.
Thanks, Joyce.
Thank you.
Tyler, would they be able to apply for a construction abatement?
When the new house is
new-
built?
The new, correct, the new owners, when they bring that in, they'll have to make sure that they apply before they start construction, so I don't
Right.
know.
Is it a pre-built home?
We did,
Maybe a pre-built.
Oh, okay.
I don't
Okay,
know that
so-
for sure, though.
Oh, okay.
Just, it was said moved in, so I don't know.
Right.
Oh,
So we were missing some key information to know if they would qualify or not for
We
that.
haven't talked to any the new owners.
Yep.
Don't even know who they are.
Yep. So- All right, the other item, thank you for that. The other item that we just have, that's just more of a housekeeping thing, we have to approve the second installment for $10,000 for the beef barn donation from First Bank and Trust. So this will bring them up to $20,000 total, and then next year they'll pay the remaining 10. So I just need approval by the board that I could actually accept that donation.
Okay. So moved and seconded to approve the donation of 10,000, what was the amount again, 10,000?
$10,000 from First Bank and Trust.
Okay. Any idea what the balance is yet on that building? I know at the time we thought we'd have enough donations to cover all of it. Are we
Right.
still-
I mean, we're a little short. I would say we're probably 30 or 40,000 roughly. I mean, I don't hold me to that short, but I will say that we're getting to the point where we're covering the initial estimate. I know we had some increased costs there that the county wanted. That was above and beyond what we initially had planned.
With the electrical upgrades.
Correct, exactly. So it's more, we're getting to that point where we're just, we're paying for the additional upgrades that we had at the time that weren't planned through donations.
And a lot of those upgrades needed to be done irregardless of that beef building.
Correct.
So,
Yep.
okay,
Yep.
very good. So it's been moved and seconded to accept this donation of $10,000. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And opposed, the same. Passage unanimously.
Thank you.
Tyler. Okay, Steve, do we want to go back to our 1015 then? We've got the stucco on the building. Do you want to look at that, or you want to wait until Wayne's here for that?
Nope, I'll go see if Wayne's here.
Or should we take a short recess?
We take a recess, I'll go grab Wayne then.
Okay, it is presently 9:44. We'll take a 15-minute recess. Thank you. Okay, we'll reconvene. It is now 9:55. Wayne Drew is here as well, too. He's going to join us. We've got some questions on some repair work for the buildings that he's going to bring forward. Thank you, Wayne.
Yeah, good morning.
One-
Okay, I've got a bid proposal for Michael Johnson Contracting out of Sioux Falls. They're the ones that did the Ewart Center uptown, and that's when I talked to some of the guys. And he come back and with a bid of $29,460 just for the outside this building. And then he come back with $11,950 for the front step, redoing that, and then remortaring both the front and the back steps, both. So, and then I've been trying to get other people here for another bids and unsuccessful.
Do this work.
I just have a question on the Yes. steps. It says remove and replace and then tuck point. Those are two different processes, so.
Yep.
Which is being done? Or is it are they removing and replacing?
I think it's
Or just
referring to the.
I think they're
Yeah,
gonna,
the border.
they're gonna redo the mortar for sure.
I mean, they're not gonna disassemble the steps and,
Well, the step, I don't know, that bottom step, maybe they will be. I don't know.
But yeah, maybe the
That's what
scope
it
work,
means.
you know, at one time originally, we thought we'd have to
Yeah.
completely remove that whole front entrance.
Yep.
But I understand from this, we're talking about just the very bottom step is the one that's tipped.
Yep.
The rest of them seem to be solid.
but does this address the leaking?
Yes, because that bottom step
That's where-
is tipped in, so the water's running in. So once that gets replaced and leveled out,
Yep.
did I understand that correctly, Wayne?
Yep, and then they're gonna reseal them.
It's not getting in behind the stairway? Or we don't know?
It could be, but it isn't leaking into probation's, room there, but, so I don't know where it's going.
Okay.
Now, Tyler has some draft issues in your office, don't you, or is it,
Yes.
is that connected with the steps, or is that a whole different
We
issue?
think it's directly related to the steps.
Okay, so the tuck pointing might help that too.
Could be.
Yeah. During the winter, there's a rather cold draft that comes directly in through the pipes, where the heat comes in, and it's actually frozen a couple times where we didn't have in our office during the winter. So you just have to put a space heater on there overnight to try to thaw out the piping to make it work, so.
Now, Wayne, did I understand that you said the front and the back steps?
They're gonna remortar the back steps.
But we've got the north step as
They're
well,
fine.
too. Okay, so it's just the east and the west are the only
Yeah,
two?
he looked at those, and the mortar and the north ones are fine.
Okay.
They're good yet.
Okay.
Yeah, he looked at all three of them.
On this building here, Wayne, where they talk about the stucco,
Yes.
are they gonna put a new layer over the entire stucco, or just patch in?
No.
Because it'd be
All-
nice
all
for
new. All new.
patch in and then put a new layer over everything.
Yeah, they're putting all new on.
Okay, that sounds good.
It's cracked and crumbling and
Yeah,
coming
it's
apart.
got a
There's
lot of
nothing.
loose, we've looked at it.
And then they're
The
gonna,
west side,
they're
a
gonna
lot of it's
fix
missing.
out law enforcement's out there, windows and stuff too. There's big cracks in those, and they're gonna reseal those and stuff too. when they're
You
doing
mentioned the comparison to the eWork Center, but the material behind this, is this foam as well, like the eWork Center? This is a
This is
solid.
concrete.
Concrete with got a stucco over it, whereas the eWork Center was foam with
Right.
that stucco material on it.
Right.
Mr. Chairman, the only comparison there was the same company.
Same company.
Doing
Yep.
it, so
Yep.
not the
You're
same
right.
process.
Right.
When would they wanna do it?
Well, that's why I wanna get it approved, so I can get on their,
A little bit, we'd
get
like
on
to
their
see that.
schedule for spring.
Before the parking lot project starts in
Right.
the spring.
Be nice.
That'd be
Hopefully.
nice if that
Yes.
could be arranged. but-
Yep.
Well, I believe Steve had mentioned in the past too, the age of this building, and nothing's been done at this point, and obviously it's maintenance that needs to be done. I think we certainly should do this. You got a note on here about winter shelter and so forth, but that's not part of this bid, because we won't.
That's only if we want it done right away.
Right, so that would be in addition to this
And I told him we
41,000.
wouldn't want it
Right.
done till next spring.
I don't see any reason to do it,
That's
until
what to
then.
do it.
No.
Just as long as we can get it done before we start the parking lot, so when we do the cement, we can match everything up.
Turns out better if you don't do it in the winter.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
agreed.
yeah.
We always, obviously, using taxpayers' money, we always like to have comparison bids, but that's not always possible, especially this type of specialty work. This gentleman's done work in this community before. I think it certainly is worthwhile going forward with. In fact, I'll go ahead and make the motion that we approve the bid then. This is a bid, it's not a quote, or is it a quote?
No, it's a bit.
It's a bid of $41,410. And then to have Wayne work with the company as far as getting this done next spring, next summer.
Next spring,
Yep.
hopefully.
Yep. And did he say how long his price was good for?
No.
Okay, so I will make that motion that we approve this.
Second.
Okay, any other discussion or questions?
And Mr. Chairman, just for everyone listening to, Wayne has tried to get other vendors to give us
Oh,
quotes
yes.
on this work. This is,
Summer.
you know,
Yep.
not taken lightly. We're not trying to circumvent any type of getting extra quotes from people, but it's so specialized and there's so few of them that do this type of work that it just has not been
It
able to.
wasn't possible in this case.
Just not getting anybody else to respond to us back, and we've got to get moving on it. You know, we've got a time crunch coming up too next spring with the courthouse. Hopefully a parking lot project going ahead too. So,
I think historically, we've even looked at this stairway before, and they were talking 20,000 or more just for that. So
Right.
Yep.
It seems like a bargain.
But it's a different approach to it than the other
Right.
ones were too,
Yeah.
yes. Okay. Any other comments? Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
And opposed, the same, passes unanimously. And thank you, Wayne.
Yep.
Like I said, I realize that it took a lot of tracking people down.
Anything else, or?
no, I think we're good. No, we talked about the Public Services Building. We're going to invite Stacy in to meet with us and give us her take on it. So we're good. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I believe that concludes everything we had scheduled for the 9:15 on the agenda, so now we can go back to our 10 o'clock items on the agenda. Okay. First item we got then is the 2019 non-union COLA setting. Okay, have you got some information to present on that, Steve?
Mr. Chairman, union contracts are settled for 2019 at 2.5%. Recommendation for the non-union COLA would be also 2.5%.
Move to approve.
Okay, it's been moved, and I'll second to approve. Does the Personnel Committee have any comments that they'd like to add to this discussion at all? Or? Okay. Hearing none, any other questions or discussion? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor of the motion of going with the 2.5%? Say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, the same. Okay, that passes unanimously. Next on there, then we've got the 2019 Assistant County Attorney salaries. We need action taken on that as well.
You have a spreadsheet in your packet with that information on it or on your computers?
Any background you can give us on this at all, Steve? Or?
Mr. Chairman, the Personnel Committee did meet with County Attorney Sandy on this issue, so I defer to the Personnel Committee if they have any comments on this.
We did meet with Demaine and Mary Ann and Keith Freeman, and also Tyler, and some wanted additional money, some were happy with what they had. We did come up to, after discussing it quite a bit, we decided to try to keep everybody at 2.5%, including the sheriff and Demaine and the assistant county attorneys. And that's what you have printed out on your sheet here, so
Okay,
those are the numbers, so.
so we need action on this, so I need a motion to move forward this 2.5% increase then
Unless
for.
there's any discussion on it, I
Okay.
would make a motion to approve
Okay.
that, but I don't know, unless I have any comments or.
No, I don't have any comments.
Okay. We do need a second on it?
Can I just say something?
Yes, please.
Could I have you guys just say the assistant county attorney's salary, and
Yep.
then maybe take them one by one after that?
Okay.
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 Yep, that'd be good.
The assistant, or you want to start with the attorney himself? We need to start with that one too, don't we?
That'll be elected officials. Let's
Oh, yes.
do the Assistant County Attorneys first, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, thank you for that correction. Yep.
So, Bruce, did you motion for that one? Is that correct?
I can,
Yep.
you want to do one at a time?
Yes.
Yes, one at a
Okay,
time.
for Cassie Loeffler, the new salary would be 46,215.
Okay. Okay, it's been moved and there's a second stand and seconded to approve Cassie Loeffler's increase at 2.5%, so her new salary would be 46,215. Any further discussion or questions? Okay, hearing none, all in favor, aye? Aye. Passes unanimously. Excuse me, opposed, the same.
Each
Passes
individual
unanimously.
person, or just by department?
Okay, the next one then would be,
Our Dusins would be 27,675.
okay, and you move that as well?
Sure.
Okay,
Second.
moved and seconded then for Scott Bardusen. Any further discussion or questions? Okay. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
And opposed, the same. Passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That takes care of the county attorney salaries. Next on the list would be the elected official salaries.
Okay. So the first elected official on that list then would be our county attorney, Demaine Sandy. The proposed increase that we've got from the Personnel Committee is also 2.5%. So a 2.5% increase would bring him up then to $74,825. Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved.
Okay.
Second.
Moved and seconded to increase Demaine Sandy's salary to $74,825. All in favor? Aye.
Can I make a comment?
Oh, yes, please.
One thing that I would like to keep in mind for the commissioners is that the other employees that are union and non-union are actually getting a 5% increase. They're getting a 2.5% COLA and a 2.5% step increase. And by doing this, you're treating the elected and the assistant county attorneys differently than all of the other employees employed by the county.
Yeah. You want to come forward for more discussion? That way we'll be able to pick it up on the camera as well, too, so. So your comment was then because there's a discrepancy in this between the other, because of the 2.5% and the 2.5% step increase.
Discriminating against the assistant county attorney positions as well as the elected officials. Last night at the TNT meeting, Steve had commented that there was going to be a 2.5% COLA and a 2.5% step. But we come here today, and the other employees have already been granted that, but the electeds and the assistant are only set at a 2.5% increase. I'm not asking for anything more. I put a 5% in my budget. I want to be treated like any other employee employed here by the county.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. Oh, you can stay. Does the Personnel Committee have any thoughts on this? Had you considered this?
We have,
Okay.
we wanted to try to hold it at 2.5%.
Okay. Okay.
But we're open to discussion if you.
Well, and that's part of the process here with the motion and so forth. There's always discussion with that, so. So again, I believe right now at this point then, we stand on your motion then for, we were at county attorney, right? That's where we're at. At 2.5% was.
Les made the motion for the county attorney.
Les made the motion.
I seconded it.
And it was seconded, okay. So any further discussion on that then? Okay. Hearing none, all in favor of the 2.5% increase?
Aye.
Aye, and opposed the same. So again, that raises Demaine's then to $74,825. Okay, the next one then would be our recorder, Mary Ann DeGroat. Personnel Committee's recommendation is the 2.5% increase, and that would raise hers then to $75,850. Okay, we need action on that.
I'll make the motion, I guess, for that.
Okay, and again, your motion is at the 2.5% as what the Personnel Committee had recommended. Okay. Okay, it's been moved to go 2.5%, $75,850. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
There's a second to the motion. Okay. Any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'm just curious on why there wasn't a step increase for elected.
The electeds don't normally have a step increase. I think it's just a salaried position.
Okay. That's up until
Most
merit.
of the elected officials are higher on the pay scale to begin with. And a lot of, not all of them, but a lot of them are beyond step increases as far as years of service.
Well, just
Not
before.
that you couldn't do it, I guess, if you really wanted to, but
Yet the other department heads got a new pay plan and started all over again.
And I guess that was the question I had, if I could direct that to you, Kathy. Then the pay plan itself never did address the electeds.
Correct, because elected officials are not typically put on a pay plan
Because they have the right to appeal their salary.
Correct.
And it's not recommended to place elected officials on a pay plan.
Do we have any data from our surrounding counties? Are we in line with compensation for elected
I
officials?
think we are. We did increase some of them, and Mary Ann's is one of them last year by quite a bit to bring them in, and the sheriff was another one we increased last year, and to try to bring them in, within range of other counties around us. And
But in the past, we've also had the same salary for 3 years. We had no
Yeah, that could
COLA
be.
and no increase. So I
But there's a
think
lot of
last
people
year-
living out here and working around out here that haven't had an increase for several years, too. And
Correct.
some people actually go backwards,
Mhm.
depending on their position and what they do, but
I'm just asking to be treated like the other employees.
And
It's
it's
in my
hard to have an
budget.
elected official and a regular employee to pick the best out of both systems and then want that. Either you're elected or you're just an employee. So it's hard to judge, put the two together. And these salaries do, by the way, this number doesn't include health insurance, and there's a lot of benefits that go along with this too. So this isn't the number that it costs the county to have the person. It's actually a lot more than that.
And we did recently approve the maximum amount of the county's contribution for our health insurance. But again, that was for
But
everybody,
it's still-
not,
it's still
that was across the board for
It's a big expense to
everybody.
the county every year, and it keeps going up, as of course, too.
But there's also a discrepancy in the amount to the employees, whether you're a regular employer or you take health insurance for a family too. A person that selects family insurance can also get over a $360 benefit more per month than one that chooses not to take family insurance. So there's a discrepancy there also.
And I guess not to get too deep into the discussion on that, but my understanding was, and Kathy, if you can support that, that's also, part of that was considered because of retaining good employees is why we offer that. We'd realize that there is a discrepancy between single and family health insurance.
Well, it's a benefit for both of them. It's just one benefit's a little larger than the other, but it's a benefit.
My response to that is family health insurance has been increasing drastically over the last several years. So the gap between the cost for single coverage versus family coverage, we had to close the gap somehow. It was just getting completely unaffordable for families.
And it does keep your premium costs lower by encouraging families to participate versus not having families participate.
Correct.
And again, retention is one of the things we talked about with that, because again, we acknowledge, yes, there is a difference there. But it was a difference that we thought was palatable because of the retention. Not to say that we don't want to retain our other employees that don't have the family panel. It's not it. We value all of them. It's not easy.
No.
Not easy. You certainly do have a point, and I appreciate you voicing your concern. I think, is Steve getting some copies of some of the other studies that we've done? You know?
I don't think so.
Okay.
So
Okay. Any further discussion? Then
Just for comparison, for the various elected officials, the additional 2.5%, which would basically equate to a step, is about $10,000.
about $10,000. Okay. Okay. And Steve, I didn't know if you had a copy of other counties as far as their elected officials, but I see this is showing the history of our elected officials throughout the years from 1996 up through now. You want to give us a brief review of what we're looking at here then?
Kathy put this together for us, and this shows what you've done the last years for elected officials on there.
Can you find the one that has the comparison with the other counties?
I don't have that one. Do you have that, Kathy?
I don't know if I have one for this year for the recorder. I know we looked at it last year.
I mean, even if you
That's
have
why
one.
there was a nearly 9% increase for salary last year.
So we did make a correction last year.
2009, 10, and 11, the salary never changed one penny. There was no COLA, there was no step, there was nothing for 3 years there. The salary was the same.
But then we took steps to correct that,
Correct.
when we went at the 9, it was 9 point, what was it? 8.9.
But back in those years of 8, 9, where they didn't have anything, that's when the bottom dropped out of everything too.
Okay, we need to move forward. Any further discussion or questions on this? Okay, so again, the motion's been made and seconded then to have the auditor's position at 2.5%.
Chairman, that would be recorder.
Recorder position at 2.5%, bringing Mary Ann's salary then to $75,850. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. And oppose the same?
Aye.
Okay. I believe it passes 3-2, but you guys want to do a hand vote as well, too, to verify that? Or everybody agree? We've got it.
Agree.
It passes 3-2. Okay. Okay. Very good. And thank you, Mary Ann, for your comments. Okay. Next then is elected official of the sheriff, Keith Freeman. The proposed increase then, again, staying with 2.5%, would bring Sheriff Freeman's salary to $92,250. We need action on this. Does the Personnel Committee have comments, or would you like to move this forward?
We met with Sheriff Freeman, and he was very happy with a 2.5% increase. So I'd make a motion to approve.
Okay. It's been moved.
I'll second it.
Moved and seconded to approve a 2.5% increase then for the sheriff's position, bringing that to $92,250. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, aye. Aye. And opposed, the same. That passes unanimously. Okay, so the only other elected official we've got left other than the commissioners then would be our auditor treasurer position, Tyler Eich. Does the Personnel Committee have comments? I see the recommendation here is outside of the 2.5%. Could you?
We did discuss that with Tyler, and he has been doing a really good job. He's also assuming a lot more responsibility this coming year, and along with his other duties, and we feel that $85,000 would be a fair price for his services for the coming year.
Have you done the math on that? What does that amount to in a percentage?
Don't know.
Mr. Chair, can I just
Yes,
say something?
please.
I don't think we need to look at this as a percentage because he's doing a new job.
Okay.
So he's moving from the auditor to auditor treasurer. And that's why they're looking at a new salary scale for him.
Okay.
That's about in the middle of where other auditor treasurers are in our area.
I think it's towards the front end, to be honest.
And again, as we already pointed out, we don't, the elected officials are never part of the compensation study, so this is outside of that, okay? The other individuals that work in those departments, are they also going to see a change in their duties and responsibilities with this merger as well? Are you going to be assuming all of the duties? You certainly assume all the responsibility. Are you assuming all the duties as well, or is that going to be spread out?
I'm going to be assuming all the responsibility. Some of the duties are going to be spread out. We are adding one person from part-time to full-time, but all the responsibility lies with me. I'm going to be doing all the investments, the daily book work that I frankly won't have time to do. Of all the extra work I'm taking on, will be spread lightly throughout the treasurer's office.
Yeah. And obviously the treasurer's office is with that continuation of their personnel, they're bringing forward with them a lot of knowledge and background as well too, and experience. Okay.
What is the difference in the part-time to full-time? Is that just a half-time increase, or
Not even a full half.
or not even?
I'm sorry.
You said there was somebody that was going
Already,
from part.
right, she's already, Lori, yeah.
Yeah, she went from 3 days a week to 5 days a week.
And she's already been doing that since August of this year.
Okay. It was like a 0.4 increase.
So just as a note, the current salary range for auditors, treasurers for 18 in our area is 78,000 to 99,000. And the 78 is a bit of an outlier. The next lowest is 82.8.
Do many of those have quite a bit of longevity?
I don't have longevity data,
That's good.
I can tell you.
but this is 2018 number.
Right, no, I understand.
So it's gonna go up in 19.
Yeah. Tyler, if you want to come forward too, so we can pick you up the mic, so if you've got some more insight.
I've done my own research, and Kathy's right on the mark with the salary ranges for an auditor treasurer. Nobles County recently approved their new auditor treasurer, who has no accounting experience, has not done accounting work with no accounting degree, and she was getting paid $75,000. The top of the market is, as Kathy indicated, 100, and that was last year's salaries, so that's going to go up even more. So I personally feel that 85 is actually on the lower end with my 6 years of experience at the county here, taking on additional work. I don't think that that's out of line. I think that's market.
You mentioned the 6 years' experience, and that was a question I had in my mind as well, too, is your 6 years' experience obviously is what you've been doing as auditor, but now with the treasurer part of it, there's still going to be a little bit of a learning curve here. So I want to make sure we've got room to grow as this moves forward. So that would be my only concern.
I guess my echo to that would be that the top of the salary is 100,000, so I'm already less than halfway in between the auditor treasurer range of 75 to 100. I'm on the lower half of that already, so I think there already is room to grow with 85. Personally,
Okay.
that's my stance.
Anyone else? Any thoughts, comments? Yes.
I guess I'm just struggling a little with, having somebody, I mean, admittedly, you've been here for 6 years, but, the people that are currently doing this job have been here over 30 and aren't getting this money.
Nobody's been in this position.
I know it's not an exact comparison, but.
And elected officials aren't necessarily rewarded for longevity by our pay scale. If somebody runs against Tyler and gets his, or Mary Ann, for example, and gets their job by beating them in the election, they're going to expect the same money that they're getting. So they're starting out in that case at that level. So, I mean, sometimes it gets just down to be whatever the job pays, and that's what it is. Whether you're 40 years old or 60 years old, does that make a difference? If you're doing the job and you're doing a good job, I don't see that it does. In fact, in some cases, myself included, as I got older, I think it was worth less. But,
Yeah, and I don't think it has anything to do with
no,
age.
but
It's just
there's all kinds of ways to look at that.
more an experience standpoint. Yes.
Please.
I would be careful about comparing different positions within the county. You know what I mean? It's like they're two different jobs. So it's like, if I'm here for 30 years, I'm not gonna be making as much as Steve.
Right.
His job has more responsibility than my job.
Right.
Or he does different things than I do.
True.
So I think that's kind of a tough thing to look at. And that's why we try to look at benchmark counties doing the same positions.
And if I could, I was thinking the exact same thing, apples to apples. So in our particular case here, then, if we compare the auditor treasurer's position to the recorder's position, is there $9,250 worth of difference?
I don't think you want to go there.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying.
Because we don't know what the intricacies are. I want to make sure that we're being fair.
We do by looking at other counties and their salary scales for what their elected officials are making.
Okay.
One other thing to look at too is, as auditor treasurer, statutory responsibilities remain the same, but other auditor treasurer's offices around the state may do different other jobs as well too. They may not all do driver's license. They may do other things as well, and they were doing passports, that type of thing. We are changing that, but there are other intricacies in the jobs that others aren't doing.
We're changing that.
What's that?
What are we changing?
That's moving. It's going to go to my office. Tyler, with his picking up driver's license, can't be the passport.
Yeah.
We can't intermix them too.
Because of the data privacy.
Right, okay.
So we got to have separation there.
So you'll be doing all the passports.
Yeah.
People won't change, but it'll just go to change in my office. So Tyler will have to kind of bow out of being the passport. What do you call it?
Acceptance agent.
Acceptance agent.
Acceptance agent, yeah. So that will be moving.
And Kathy, you work
Kathy will
with
still be
those as
doing
well
it.
too? And who else works with between others, you and Kathy?
Bill's helping,
Bill's
Bridget's
does.
helping, and I need to be trained.
Okay.
I am trainable.
Think so?
Can we check with Linda on that to make sure? That's-
Certainly.
So anyway, there'll be a number of people doing it.
Still are, yeah.
The only
That's
question
change
I've got
office.
then yet is to make sure that we are being fair about this and that we're not delving into areas, we're making sure that it is equal compensation for responsibilities and duties and so forth. Okay. It's not easy.
We are moving into new territory, Mr. Chairman, too. This is a newly created position for us and was voted on and approved, and, you know, we're combining the two. This is new to us. So it's going to be a little bit different than we have in the past.
Okay, then moving forward then, there was a motion, a second. Do I understand correctly, if I remember correctly? Any further discussion?
What was the motion?
I don't think there was a motion.
I don't think there was one.
No, we don't have a motion on the floor yet.
Oh, I thought you'd move.
Last one we did was Sheriff Freeman.
Okay,
That was unanimous.
so we need a motion then.
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
I'll second it.
and the motions specifically are then to, with the merger of the auditor treasurer position with Tyler Reich filling that position, that the salary for this newly established position would be $85,000. Correct?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion?
Mr. Chair, I just wanted to say, after the comments made by Ms. Festi and Mr. Ewing and Mr. Reich, I too was having trouble seeing this increase, but after hearing the Personnel Committee and all sides on this, I understand where this number would come from moving forward. And moving into this new position too, I don't think we should sit here and debate numbers that much. At this time, we need to show Tyler some support moving into this position. So.
Very good. Thank you for that. Any other comments or questions for the vote? Okay. All in favor of the motion? Aye. Aye. And opposed, the same?
I
Okay. Passes 4-1.
still support it.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Okay. The last one we got then is the county commissioner's compensation.
It moved to set it at 21,525.
Okay, so it's moved in by Luke to
second it.
go with the 2.5% increase to $21,525. Any further discussion? I personally would rather see us not take the 2.5% increase. I know I've talked about this before. I don't really feel that this is a salary. We're being compensated for our time that we donate to the citizens of the county. It's not, in my opinion, this is not a job. It's certainly not a full-time job. It's not intended to be. I understand the concept that you need to be able to compensate people for their time, so you've got quality people willing to fill these positions. I think our compensation at the $21,000 is more than adequate, especially if you consider the fact that we, along with the rest of the employees, also receive the benefit of the increased contribution to the health insurance. Also, recently, within the last couple of years, we changed our per diem schedule. I feel very comfortable what we're being compensated, and I personally don't feel any need to increase it, especially when we have such difficult choices with all of our people. And I certainly do appreciate the hard work the Personnel Committee has done on this, but that is my
If
opinion.
it feels like we're overcompensated, we could certainly donate some of that money back to any cause you wish.
Any other discussion or questions? Any other comments?
Mr. Chair, just with us facing another levy increase and likewise all the hard decisions we've already made, I feel the same, that we're compensated well, especially after increasing our per diems last year and whatnot. That's all I have to add.
Okay. Is it the wish of this group that we take a voice vote on this, or you want to have a roll call vote on this? I guess we'll call for a roll call vote. Okay. It's been moved and seconded, so roll call vote.
Luke and Bruce.
Yeah. Do you want me to call the roll, or do you want to call the roll, Kathy? Make any difference?
Do you want to roll call? I'll do it, that's fine.
Okay.
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Hollingsworth,
Nay.
Commissioner Wildermuth,
Nay.
Commissioner Coiman,
Aye.
Commissioner Nath.
Okay, the vote passes on a 3-2 roll call. Okay, very good. That concludes the salary portion of the agenda. What have we got left here, Steve? Next one is going to be our taxes payable. We need to actually adopt the levy. As you know, you want to go ahead and take the presentation on this, the work that's gone into presenting this levy?
Certainly. After the Truth and Taxation meeting last night, we are now at a levy percent increase of 5.85%. That was decreased by $4,897 due to a decrease in the community health appropriation request from Southwest Health and Human Services, changing that from approximately 8.1% down to 4.08%, and they cut their request in half. Originally, they'd asked for $1 per capita, and they're now brought that back at 0.50, 50 cents per capita. So our current levy sheet that you have in front of you reflects that change, and that's line item 481, Community Health. So we're at a 4.08 increase instead of an 8. So we've gone from 5.92 to 5.85 is where we're at today. This is what was presented at the Truth and Taxation meeting tonight, or last night, pardon me. There were 2 members of the community present. Several department heads were there as well. It was nice to see everybody there. Some good discussion that occurred. A lot of it did revolve around valuations of property, which seems to happen a lot, but this time.
Yeah, I guess after all this discussion about how concerned we are about how much money we're spending, instead of adopting this levy, I think we should look at cutting it and approve in a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, by statutory requirements, the levy must be presented to the state no later than December 28th. If you wish to take this and do some more work on the budget, you wish to have a budget meeting, special meeting at some time, we do have the meeting on the 26th, the day after Christmas. We could take action on that, but that is the last date we could do that as a full board, unless you wanted to meet on the 27th, of course, or I could actually do it on the 28th, the special meeting, but 28th is the drop dead date for this to be completed.
Keeping that in mind that we do have a time frame to work within, but I do want to address Luke's concerns or questions. Is there any specific area that you can point to right now that you feel we could make some cuts in? And we really should have discussed this when was this brought up when we had our other discussions about the budget as we went through
We
it?
really didn't have much for discussion this year, it seemed.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'm willing to go through page by page if you'd like.
But isn't that what we've done in the last month and a half? We
Well,
really
we
should have
got
addressed
kind of
it.
some oversights from different department heads and whatnot, but I don't think that we really sat down as a board and looked much beyond that.
Okay, so I think to follow protocol here, we actually need to have a motion to approve the levy at the 5.85, and then at that point, we can have this further discussion, have a vote on it. Would that be correct?
Oh, we don't have to take action, we could just.
No, we don't
wait.
have
You can table this as well. You can table it until the 26th.
Les, you got a comment?
Since the only meeting we would have be the 27th, and it'd have to be in by the 28th, should we call a special budget meeting, work session to get through this, to lower it? If we can find dates that work for everybody.
I want to make sure that all voices are heard here, and we have a good thorough discussion on this, but I also don't want to throw a wrench into the works here as well, too. So if you guys feel it's necessary to go ahead and table this decision at this point,
Well, it isn't gonna cost us anything to sit down and talk about it one more time.
and we can make that work calendar-wise.
Certainly, yeah.
Okay.
It's up to your calendar.
Okay.
You're the 5 we need to get together to do this.
Then I guess what I'd be looking for then would be a motion then to table this, and also include in that motion, we want to also put the dates of when we'd have our next budget meetings, or just table it at that point and move forward.
Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend that you just do a motion now to table the adopting of the levy and
And
budget.
then work out the details
I'd make
later.
Work out the
motion.
details.
Okay,
That
so
would be
Luke makes a
appropriate.
motion that we table the discussion on the decision of the levy. Okay, is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to table the decision on the levy setting. Any further discussion or questions, other than working out the details? So we'll have to work out the details when we can make this happen. Any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of tabling? Aye.
Aye.
And opposed, the same? Passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair,
Mhm.
how would it work if we met after our hospital meeting next Tuesday?
That's what I'm thinking. That's the only time that's gonna work for me.
Yeah, and that way it does not cost any additional.
Swimming?
Like 1 o'clock?
Or, I mean, we could even start
Sooner, 11.
earlier, you know.
If we get out of there at 10:30, you can come right down here. and-
Right.
Yeah.
Unless you want a little break for lunch or something.
Well, and the only problem with that is that we have to be specific about when we start this meeting. We can't just have.
I need to publish this
Right,
as a
no, I
special meeting,
understand.
so I would recommend, give yourself time to do it in the afternoon.
So
Be
just
honest
figure
with
1
you if you
o'clock?
can. I mean,
I'd say 1 o'clock.
Okay,
Okay.
okay, that is fine. Go ahead and set that up, Steve, and send out the public notice for that.
December 18th, 1 PM
Yep, here.
for the
And then-
purpose of budget.
Now, will we be in a position to go ahead and vote on the levy at that time, or does that have to go to another meeting? We have the discussion.
You're in a special
Vote on it
meeting,
on
you
the-
can vote on
Ready
it
to
at that
vote on
time.
it At that time.
No, we would vote on the final at 26th, because you'd have to have time to get it printed up and,
Well, we could vote that day, couldn't we, if we're happy with what we got? So Steve's got time to get it ready?
maybe normally you're gonna wanna have time to get it ready and printed up ahead of time to,
Yeah, I'll have to do that. So let's plan on the 26th then to adopt.
right, 26th
Let
to
the-
adopt. and Just cut it on the 8th,
Yep.
or 18th.
Yeah, let's do it on, 26 will be fine.
For the final.
We'll have it
adoption.
ready for the final levy on the 26th of that meeting.
And then if for some reason on the 18th that we run out of time, we can't come to consensus at that time, would we have time to schedule another special meeting? Because we have to have the notice for that meeting going out.
Probably going to be doing it at the 26th because you've got the holiday in there of Christmas. You're not going to have really any time to do it, so any further discussion would have to be at the meeting on the 26th, and we might go, might have to go long on that, but that be that as it
Yeah, we
may.
can go as long as you
Yeah.
want.
And then if
That's
we
fine.
had to make pencil changes, then that could make pencil changes if anything changed on the 26th, and
Yep.
that would still work.
Yep, we'll make it work.
Okay, everybody in agreement with that? Okay, very good. Well, it's already been passed then to table this, so this item is tabled for today. Okay. And then that also, obviously, the next item on here is the county budget, but those two are
Those are-
linked together.
Yep, those
so-
are entwined, so.
So that's
those
part
are-
of that table as well.
Yeah, we tabled the levy and budget.
Okay,
You didn't give us a date, but we'll take care of that. It's just tabled right now. So the special budget meeting, December 18th, 1 PM.
yep.
Okay.
We've already talked about our law enforcement contract.
Excuse me.
Are there any other business items that you want to bring forward, Steve?
Mr. Chairman, under personnel, we're going to talk about the Christmas Eve closing.
But was there any
Draft
other
resolution.
business before we go to personnel
I don't
business?
have anything else, Mr.
Okay.
Chairman. Oh, you guys have committee reports today.
Yes, yep. It wasn't specifically on the agenda, but we all knew that.
Yeah, it
so-
was.
That's right.
Yes, it was, Mr. Chairman.
There you go.
Oh, there we go, thank you.
And I had a two-page agenda, it got really long, so
I saw the Christmas, I
apologize
just
if
didn't see that.
Unless you'd like to do that at another time. That's
No,
entirely-
I think we're fine. I was planning on it for today,
Okay.
so. Okay, Kathy, personnel business.
Okay, so the only item I have for personnel is the county board considering closing government offices on Christmas Eve. And this was kind of brought up simply because it falls on a Monday, and this would be a one-time approval. This would not change any of our policies for how we pay out Christmas Eve, other than in 2018, this year, simply because it falls between a 2-day weekend and then a day and a half holiday, essentially, because we close at noon on Christmas Eve. So it'd be 2 days off, a 4-day working day, and then the afternoon off, and then the following day off. There has been other counties that have
kind of recognize that it's, you know, just a 4-hour working day and there isn't the most productive thing in the world. And they have just closed on Monday. On that day, I guess I'm kind of neutral if you guys want to do this or not. I think it would be a very nice gesture, and it would be, you know, nice to have that as a full day off. But it's up to you if you feel that you want to do this. Currently, Christmas Eve is a paid holiday when it falls on a Monday through Thursday. So if it falls on a Friday, then, you know, Christmas Day is on a Saturday, so Friday is the recognized holiday. And then if it falls on a Saturday or Sunday, it's not a holiday. So it's 4 out of 7 years it is a holiday that's paid to employees. So
Because of the timing and the date of Christmas this year, because it's Monday, I would vote to, or move to close the courthouse on Monday.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to go ahead and close on Monday, the 24th, Christmas Eve. And, okay, any further discussion,
My
questions?
only question is that paid or unpaid for the 4 hours?
I guess it's paid.
Yep.
I don't know what.
Because
Really don't-
currently the policy is that Christmas Eve, whatever day Christmas Eve falls on, is 4-hour paid,
if it falls on a Monday through Thursday.
Monday through Thursday, yeah. So we're deviating from
And
that.
this would make it an 8-hour.
8-hour, yep, so it will be
For this
paid time.
year only. I just want to reiterate this.
Yeah, we're not setting a precedent here.
Mr. Chairman, if I may add too, Kathy and I talked about this at length too, and just the same reasons, it's going to happen almost like once in a blue moon. The next time this will happen to be 2029 and then 2035 after that, where it falls into this. So it's just an odd thing. We have a lot of our staff who will be traveling, I'm sure, over the weekend, and we're going to be here with basically on Monday a skeleton crew anyway, just keep the doors open. So the only issues I have to deal with would be to alert probation and court administration that the building will be closed. And of course, we'd put out a public notice as well to the
I
public
doubt
on
they'll
this.
be here anyway.
What's that?
I doubt they'll be here anyway.
That's right.
Right.
This, of course, it isn't without cost. I mean, because you have people who are working anyway. You have jailers, dispatchers, some EMS people, those and deputies that are going to be on duty during that day anyway, and they would get time and a half for the 8 hours. You know, and
But they're getting that under contract.
they're getting it anyway under
regardless.
contract, so it's not really changing anything.
Is there somebody on call for the building itself for that many days being closed?
Oh, Wayne is always on call for the
Okay.
building.
24/7
Yeah, and
anyway.
Candy, or, you know, whoever's here, they'll take care of that. So dispatch has Wayne's number pre-programmed, so if something's going on. So,
And if we did work those 4 hours, it would be very, very non-productive
I
hours. And
agree.
I think we need to send a signal to
Pretty
our
quiet
employees
around.
that we understand that they've got families and lives, and with people traveling and so forth. I personally am very much in favor as well, too. So, any other questions or discussions before we vote? Okay. All in favor of approving all day on December 24th, 2018 as an 8-hour paid holiday instead of a 4-hour paid holiday? Aye?
Aye.
And opposed, the same? Okay. Thank you. Passes unanimously.
that'll be
Just want to
adopting the
say
resolution.
thank you guys very much. That is a very
It's just common
generous
sense.
gesture, and I think employees will very much appreciate this.
Want them to
so.
understand that we do appreciate.
Just tell them Merry Christmas.
And that was the only other personnel item you had. We're finished with all the rest of our other business. Okay. So, committee reports. Luke, you ready to start?
On November 8th, I went to the annual meeting of the Minnesota Transportation Alliance. They're still putting a lot of money into autonomous vehicles. They were celebrating the additional corridors of commerce money that they got, which includes the 2 4-lane segments between Wilmer and St. Cloud on Highway 23. And former Secretary of State Mark Ritchie spoke on trying to attract a World Fair to Bloomington near the Mall of America. Apparently it draws millions of people, obviously, and it's a pretty big deal if we could get it. On the 13th, participated in the canvassing board. On the 14th, One Watershed, One Plan for the Missouri River. We reviewed the planning work group and advisory committees final sections that they had gone over, and we're gonna be looking at those again tomorrow. On the 19th, or the Yellow Medicine, one watershed, one plan through Area 2. They've got a project completed now, several being worked on as weather permits. Many others are going through the approval process, and they added a half-time assistant to their watershed office. On the 20th, at the hospital board meeting. On the 26th, the regional solid waste meeting. Dues are the same for next year. Talked about some demo landfill permitting issues, which I'll touch on later. 29th, Prime Health met. There's no new groups joining for 2019, but they do expect some in 2020. They set up a committee to create some criteria for new additions moving forward. And I guess I just have a question of all of you. What, if any, opinion do you have regarding board membership on the Prime Health Board for new additions? You know, like, do you think it should be limited to Prime West counties that are currently in Prime West? You know, if the day comes where they start allowing non-Prime West counties to join, do you think they should have board membership or just be allowed to join the pool? I mean, I guess that would be my thinking, is that it should be just the Prime West counties having board membership.
Yep.
Otherwise, you're gonna get such a large board, it's just
You
ridiculous.
start losing your control.
Right.
Yep. And even at that, as we know with the Prime Health, this is just in the infancy of that. So we still have got a lot of growing to do here. So to enlarge that group too big right away, I don't think that serves the
Right,
purpose.
and then I don't think that's their intention either, but, you know, they certainly have been getting a lot of requests, so.
Of counties wanting to come on to Prime Health now.
Oh, sure,
Yes.
right.
And again, we know that could be a good thing because it spreads our risk out more, but we also have to make sure it's manageable, and that's been Prime West's approach to Prime Health all along,
I
is to
know.
go slow into this.
Right, and I know another thing, of course, is like, even for the Prime West counties, it's always been suggested that possibly they would open it up to, you know, like cities or school districts within those counties.
Yeah.
Which obviously would add a lot of numbers as well, but I still think that it'd be better to leave the board membership to the counties, because otherwise it's just gonna get too unwieldy to.
Gets too big.
Yeah. Okay, on the first, went to the annual meeting of township officers. It was kind of a low turnout due to the inclement weather. Their dues remained the same. They didn't seem to have many issues. They had a lot of positive comments on the wind projects, you know, especially with the road conditions and whatnot. They felt were actually better than they were prior to the project going. They seemed happy with the school demo project. And then left for AMC to beat the weather, and unfortunately my wife couldn't get off work quite early enough, so I didn't quite beat the weather, but at least got there and had to deal with a tire issue later the next morning. Ag and Rural Development on the 2nd. I chaired the meeting since the chair was absent. We had a couple speakers, Brad Finstead from USDA Rural Development, who was a 3-term legislator from the New Ulm area, and Joe Martin from the Farm Service Agency. I guess I particularly enjoyed the comments from the USDA guy, just because he said in Minnesota they have like 80 employees, but USDA has 110,000 employees worldwide. And, I mean, talk about bureaucracy. You know, of course, they deal with problem-solving, innovation issues, infrastructure, which we're familiar with, of course, because of the hospital, but, you know, do a lot of water projects, different community centers, fire halls, that type of things. They do, you know, grants, direct loans, and guaranteed loans. They mentioned $600 million available in a new federal broadband program, but they didn't have many details yet on how those funds were going to be distributed. The FSA guy said there's 430 employees in Minnesota at 74 offices. Only about a third of the offices actually handle loans to farmers. But that appointments could be made locally to get lender staff to travel to your area if your office does not handle loans. I was surprised when he said of the 200,000 farmers in Minnesota, they felt that a third were in trouble, a third were okay, and a third were, doing well. But I mean, if it,
Percent this coming spring might be in
but they thought a third were in trouble of being able to get an operating loan. And apparently they normally will guarantee loans for people that aren't able to get a direct loan through a lender. And in a lot of cases, it would.
Last week at Prime West, Keith Swanson sits on the board from Grant County. And his wife is a CPA, owns her firm.
Mm-hmm.
And when we were talking, I asked him, I says, what's she seeing? He says, it's not good.
Right.
And at our extension committee, they said too that they threw the number 30% of all farms in Minnesota won't be getting operating loans this coming year.
That's a pretty big number.
Yes,
Yep.
that's scary.
And then they talked about, of course, the new county leases statewide, which we're aware of, where they're trying to combine FSA, NRCS, and crop insurance all in one building for efficiencies, but apparently at a bigger cost. They mentioned a margin protection program that affected like 2,400 dairies. A market facilitation program, which is basically the tariff payments, which was like $1.64 for soybeans, but only a penny for corn. CRP, there's 57,000 contracts, over 1 million acres in Minnesota. The problems they cited were the standards keep changing, enrollment's not always open. Environmentally sensitive land was more likely to be enrolled, and payment reductions are likely, probably capped at 80% of the average county rent. And then we were told that our AMC policy analyst, Jennifer Burquam, is leaving and taking a job in Olmsted County as a policy analyst, so it's kind of a bummer because she's done a nice job for us the last 5 years. The next day, they had a joint meeting between Extension and Research Committee, where it was mostly just a presentation on the Extension program. They said that currently the Extension program private funding for that is up 20%, and the state funding is down 10%. Otherwise, it just gave some examples of some video, things that they were doing and whatnot. The Environment and Natural Resource Committee, we got an update from the Environmental Quality Board, had a discussion on House and Senate file that they're going to reintroduce, something to do with Public Water Authority over work done in the drainage system and reestablishment of drainage system records. We reviewed and approved our platform. Ironically, nothing could really be changed because we only had the exact number necessary to, the 2/3 quorum or whatever he needed. And the rest of the day, it was just general session. And I went to a One Watershed, One Plan session, went to a session on the Magic Fund, which I guess Steve was there also. I thought that was kind of interesting. And
Very
they actually
interesting.
they have a very attractive return right now that we should probably be looking into, where you can just take the money anytime you want. You don't have to lock it in. And
We started using that with Southwest Health and Human Services last summer, wasn't it, Dan?
Yes.
Last spring,
Last year sometime, I don't remember exactly when. Yeah.
but it's a good program.
right, well, especially where you don't have to have, they'll take any amount. It doesn't have to be.
And there's no time limit.
And no time frame. So I mean, even there, you could get a better week return than we're getting anywhere.
And it moves daily.
Right. Mhm. Let's see here on the Tuesday the 4th, of course, AMC had their business meeting. And then later that day, the Environment and Natural Resource Chair and myself met with MPCA staff, where we discussed waste energy facilities, construction and demo landfills, and their impact to wells. I mentioned how we have a lot of complaints that we don't feel like they're always noticing the, like, say, chemicals in soil that are naturally occurring, and they claim that they were taking that into account. We would question whether that's true or not, but at least they were claiming they were. They said rulemaking was ongoing. I told them it was probably excessive. We discussed some problem materials, permit by rule. And then when I brought up the demo landfill permitting issue again at the end, and I kind of got in their face a little and specified, okay, how many staff do permitting for MPCA? 10. Okay, how many demo landfills are there? 86. And then I said, okay, well, here we have in our area a local demo landfill that applied for a permit 10 years ago. And I can't say you didn't look at it, but I know you haven't acted on it because they haven't got one. So I would like to know specifically how long does it take to do one permit if you put a guy on it today? They could not give me an answer. I said, well, gee, you know, we have to deal with the 60-day rule. It seems a little excessive that it can drag on like this. Now, how long do you think it should take? And the head guy says, well, I know it should be less than 10 years. I'm like, well, yeah, I mean, so I don't know, but it was frustrating that they couldn't even provide a timeline of how long it would take to actually complete a permit. And the fact that they have 10 staff, that's their only job, and there's 86, I mean, that's only 8.5 a year if you did, you know, on a rotating basis. It just seems hard to believe that it can't get done faster. Then the following day, on the 5th, we met with Bowser and McPizza staff. Kyle Creer was at that as well, and John Byron from Lyon County. We discussed soil loss, where they said, I think there's just a handful of counties that have a county ordinance, which is necessary if you're going to intend to, you know, prosecute anyone for under the soil laws or whatever. There didn't seem to be a lot of, well, obviously just the fact only 5 counties in the southeast have done it. Nobody's that excited about doing it.
How does the soil loss dovetail in with the buffer strips as well? Is there any correlation there or not?
I would say not really, because it seems to be 2 different issues. One's more just to filter out.
Not erosion control.
Right. But, I mean, I think there's other programs where they're probably just addressing it through, you know, EQIP, or, you know, basically just suggesting practices to, you know, obviously nobody wants a gully through their field. So typically they're going to try to get some type of assistance to help.
With terracing or whatever.
Right, yeah, or waterway or whatever. We talked about buffer compliance. Of course, they're all tracking it online and whatnot, and we talked about how long some of that online stuff seems to take compared to doing it the old-fashioned way.
I heard some discussion about tax credits for property owners for
Yeah, we
buffer
did.
compliance.
Yep, Randy Kramer, who was with me there, actually was the one that suggested that. He would like to see it where it'd be a tax credit through the Department of Revenue, where the assessor's office or the auditor wouldn't have to mess around with it. It'd basically just be a check off on your taxes. And, you know, it'd be kind of self-reporting or whatever. And because, I mean, it does not make sense to spend any staff time to go identify all these, you know, tiny parcels and, you know, for $50 or $100 or whatever it'd be. You know, it'd have
Do
to
they
be.
have any idea what the tax impact would be of doing a tax credit?
They've not, because no one's really looked at it yet. Yeah, because I kept asking about that, because obviously, anytime you take it away, you're shifting that tax to somebody else, so. And if they would only do it on the, you know, new land that was buffered versus land that was already buffered, yeah, there's just a lot of questions as far as how it would work, or if they would do it at all. But at least it was something that was mentioned. Talked about the One Watershed, One plans. They had kind of a draft document where they were, you know, projecting out funding over the, as more and more of the plans are finalized. Whether they can actually get those amount of funding is, debatable, but I guess we'll find out moving forward. And also the state assumption of the 404 permitting, which is the Army Corps. It's the Environmental Committee's top priority is to have the state look at assuming that federal permitting. There are several states that do it already. While our Minnesota standards are stricter than the feds anyway, but it just would be easier though if you only had to go to one entity to get all your permits rather than, the various levels. And of course, it only would happen if the waters of the U.S. stays a more limited definition, like the current administration is in favor of, versus, when the previous administration was in, they wanted to have it expanded to include every little drop of water coming from the sky, and then it really wasn't practical because there wasn't enough land left to be affected or that we would have any say over. Then on Thursday the 6th, Area 2 and RCRCA met, pretty much just winding down the projects completed for the year. They're trying to do a road retention project on a road in Redwood County that was washed out during the flooding, and DNR's giving them a lot of grief. Guess we shouldn't be surprised by that. They still have that lawsuit pending on the Lake Redwood dredging, so they'll probably just pursue general obligation bonds to get the project going again, rather than waiting for the lawsuit to play out. Otherwise, things were pretty normal there until I got the call about the fire at the store. And then, which was at least as minor as it was and not a worse scenario. On the 7th, Solid Waste Committee met to discuss how things were going so far, and I guess depends on who you talk to. But I know that the amount collected in the initial pickups was almost 6 times what they normally picked up. So at least from that standpoint, it was very successful. And other than that, of course, we were all at TNT last night, and that's about all I have.
Okay, thank you, Luke. Chris?
Thursday, November 1st, we had at AMC Region 8 in Jackson, which we reported on already. Monday, November 5th, Nurse Family Partnership in Wilmer. When I first came on the board, that was the first meeting for their executive director, Joel Flatten. And at the time, they had a bunch of decisions, and they had to let 3 people go just because they couldn't afford to have them anymore. And then Joel's been able to navigate through that, streamline the whole process, and they could hire these 3 people back, but he's been able to streamline everything. There's no need to add those 3 people. So they're sitting just over $750,000 in cash reserves, and they're forecasting about $950,000 at year end. They switched their health insurance from Blue Cross Blue Shield to PEEP. They've seen a reduction in both premiums and deductibles by doing that, which is pretty nice. So. County contribution for all counties was reduced by $100,000. So in Pipestone, we're going to see a reduction of $2,875.58 on the annual contribution. So now the new contribution is $14,856.12. And that's something we'll probably look at moving forward too, if we can keep cutting away at that. That Joel, likewise, he's done a very good job with grant work, writing grants, and a lot more than what their previous director did, and that's why they're kind of moving towards being able to just fund themselves off grants. So, because they're able to secure a lot of federal grants that other ones aren't able to. For that program, we have 13 active mothers and 2 pending referrals. And so just for other local numbers, Lyon has 24, Rock has 5, Lincoln has 3, and Murray has 1. So we're using the program well. Wednesday, November 7th, Commissioner Nath and I had Southwestern Mental Health in Worthington. Special guest there, Renee Kapitsky, who works at the Unity House for them. She's a certified peer specialist, and to be that, you need to have had or are dealing with mental health disorder. And so she was able to talk about her past and how she's able to relate with a lot of these kids and adults and whatnot, and how well that program works. They're looking to join in Avera's Minnesota Department of Health school project, and Pipestone would be one of the school districts. They are also recognized as Provider of the Year by the National Alliance on Mental Health Illness at the annual conference. Tuesday, November 13th, we had Building Grounds. Commissioner Nath, Administrator Ewing were also present. Talk about the parking lot, which we again met later, which I'll follow up on. Later that day, did canvassing board with Commissioner Johnson. Wednesday, November 15th, Friends of the Casey Jones Trail in Slayton. They had Ashley Pethan, I'm not quite sure you say her name, from Minnesota Parks and Trails Council, and talked about how there's actually a bunch of Friends of Trails groups in Minnesota, and so she's kind of trying to help tie them together and create communications through the groups to try to help each other out. So she's trying to put in a regional meeting together of those. There's a newer board member there, Melissa Post, and she's helping get a discussion with Woodstock City Council and a landowner there on how we can get the trail going through Woodstock. I guess there's a landowner who has a Quonset on the other side of town, and he's an advocate for the trail, so he'd be willing to move that if the trail is going to go through there. So, and she also volunteered to run the Facebook page for the group. Tuesday, November 20th, hospital board meeting. Monday, November 26th, extension committee. Did evaluations for regional director Kaya Harries, 4-H coordinator Brandy Scap, county extension educator Melissa Brunk, and administrative support specialist Carol Scotting. They all had good reviews. Those are largely done by the committee itself. Commissioner Nath and I just basically sit there. Some county numbers for them. They had 60 youth participate in the conference judging, and 166 in the county fair. There was a new 4-H club that's been formed in the Jasper area called the Jasper Jolly Juniors, and they have 23 members. And so that brings a total of 5 4-H clubs in the county. And I think that was the first one in almost 15 years. So the budget was good. They're still sitting about 25,000 under year to date as of that meeting. There's a little bit of a structure shift in the regional extension, so Kaya is now going to take on more of the southern half of the state, and she's going to split it with one other person. Tuesday, November 27th, we had a building grounds. We met here with Engineer Bergman, and he brought a couple of the assistant engineers too. Talked about several scenarios, details of the curb, sidewalks, drain tile leaving from the courthouse, a drainage system in the parking lot to capture and move water out of here, and then other surprises that could come up, such as light poles, the fiber that runs through the parking lot. There's a lot that runs through there. So I know I had to leave early. Did you have more you could add?
One other issue that we come up with, depending upon timing, but we're thinking maybe the Water Tower Festival won't be able to be held here this year because the parking lot will be tore up and stuff. So.
Is that big a deal for parking out here? Because they park all over.
Yeah,
I mean,
parking lot would not be in use at all. I mean, it's going to be all tore up there, and people park there, and they do park all around, but you've got a construction area, and you've got people walking around. Basically, our thinking was they should consider for the year moving out to like Hiawatha Park or something like that for this one.
Lawn or anything then during that. Out
Yeah,
here.
I think it'd just be it's a safety situation we've got to look at. We can talk more about that as we get closer to, but I really think that.
Has the city and the chamber been notified of this conflict yet?
We don't have a date yet of when we're even starting. We haven't even approved it yet, so if they're hearing it right now on YouTube.
Yeah. Well, and even though we don't have a start date, because the advertising and so forth that they do, even if we don't have an exact date, they need to have a heads up as soon as possible.
I'll give Eric a call.
Yeah.
Are we thinking about any lighting improvements in the parking lot? Is that something? Last night it was kind of dark out there, I thought, when we left here. I mean, especially the.
I don't know if that was because of the little bit of fog we had or not.
I'm just kind of curious, but.
To comment
You
on,
mentioned lighting, I didn't know if there was anything new going in there, if you had any.
nothing new, no, just working around what's existing. So.
We have new LED lights in Edgerton.
Both lights are LEDs that